Hey everyone, welcome back to Unscripted Coding. Today we are revisiting an old video. It turns out, and I apologize, that one of my older videos, the audio wasn't quite there. It was stuttery. There were some issues with one of the earlier segments. So hopefully we don't bump into that. But I thought it was a really important video to try out because we were playing around with Goose.ai, and today we are also looking at Eleuther.ai, which is powered by Goose.ai as well. So I'm expecting to see very similar results. But most importantly, this is an open source, cheaper alternative to OpenAI that is GPT-3. Which, as you know, I am a very big fan of and I love very much. So, for those of you who don't know it, OpenAI has this amazing natural language AI. And I was just browsing around and they've been summarizing books on Project Gutenberg. So if you find, the importance of being earnest here, they have a very short AI-generated summary, a longer AI-generated summary. All in all, it's an AI that handles language well, English language well. It's not about numbers, it's not about code, it's trying to understand or trying to pretend to understand what is being said in plain, regular English. So we've had a bunch of these before, but if you look at some of OpenAI's examples, you might have basically a Wikipedia article, and you might ask it to summarize it for a second grade student, and it'll try and take that language and manipulate it and get something that is fairly readable at a second grade level. And there are lots of different ways to use OpenAI. You might convert between code and English. You might have it classify. You might have it explain, answer questions, find keywords, blah, 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 blah. Now, in one of my previous videos, I was using OpenAI to do a bit of search engine optimization, pull out the keywords, summarize in the right length and size of the description and meta descriptions, just building all of those in a simple tool. But what I wanted to show you is that OpenAI is not cheap. It's not overly expensive, but it's not cheap either. It does cost pennies to run each one of your questions or one of your prompts. So depending on the size of your model, depending on how long your question is, all of those pieces, you could be looking at a couple cents to run every single question. Now, I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you scale up and say you build an app that asks questions, summarizes documents over and over and over, that's going to be a real problem. Now, Goose.ai is a open source alternative to OpenAI. They have trained a pile of data off the internet, created networks as big or almost as big as OpenAI's, and they're doing it at roughly a third of the price because it's all open source. They probably have lower overhead and so on, just making it much more affordable. So I am just going to randomly pick a Wikipedia article, and let's check out the country Nepal. Okay. And what I want both of these to do are to summarize. So I have here my account on Goose.ai. I wanted to point out that they've recently made their biggest model, the 20 billion parameter model, available for free to test at 20b.eleuther.ai. I don't think this is widely announced. I don't think this is widely spread, but do try it out. It's free, and it's available right on the web. Summarize, and we're going to see. All right, let's just take that second paragraph. Okay. Okay, that's still too big. All right, let's take out this. Okay, this is not a great free experience. Let's try this. Summarize. Oh, hang on a second. Okay, we're back. So let's try this again. Moving northwest across the fertile Kathmandu Valley to the eastern Nepali region known as the Terai, the Hindu kingdom of Magni, was mentioned below. This is not a great summary. And let's check out OpenAI. I think DaVinci is the most capable model, so that sounds like the largest one. Let's try this out. I don't think this is really summarized. It's roughly the same length. It's just rewording it. I see the first recorded use of the name Nepal, whereas the name Nepal is the first recorded text. This is not a great answer either. So, gonna call it a tie. Let's pick an example as well. Extract keywords. And let's pick a different topic here. Guitars. Okay, we'll have this. Let's fill 3 paragraphs here. The keyword from the above are. Let's run this through Scrum. And it's trying to define Scrum. So they're not picking up on keywords, but I have the same thing here. Let's make this perfectly fair and paste. Now, to be perfectly fair, OpenAI is really good at these prompts. It's able to pick up that you want to ask questions, or you want to find the keywords, or you want to do a TLDR. It's been specifically trained, whereas I don't think Goose.ai has those same training. What it's really good for is completing sentences. So, for example, I might start a little bit of a description here. Unscripted Coding is a YouTube channel in which we try out new code and electronic on camera with no script. States and we take fun. The key draw to the channel is and we can try and have an AI finish that prompt. How realistic and authentic our projects come across. We love seeing how simple technologies really are. I think that's pretty decent. Think of CSS selectors, Python variables, back scripting, browsing data on a web page, and more. Now, these aren't the topics that we've covered. It seems fairly random, but yeah, I think that's a fair enough guess. If you put a real person behind it, that is acceptable. Now, let's try OpenAI again. The key draw to a channel is that everything is unscripted. We don't know what's going to happen, and neither do the viewers. The channel has been growing steadily since we started a few months ago. I wish that was true. That's definitely not. But that's actually not bad either. Goose.ai tries to make a real guess at what we do, and OpenAI gets fairly generic. So in that last test, OpenAI wins. This one, I think it's pretty similar. Now, let's try something a bit more artistic, a bit more fiction. The army marched through the muddy fields beneath a sky. The air was stable. Even the rhythm. I can't spell. Rhythmic. Okay. The army marched through the muddy fields. Beneath a starlit sky, the air was stale and still. Even the rhythmic thud of the marching soldiers in their steel boots seemed eerily silent. I watched from afar, hoping, expecting not to be seen. When I felt a touch on my shoulder, let's see what OpenAI comes up with. I turned to see the cat. And then they give a bit of dialogue. That's really nice. What are you doing here? I wanted to see the army. This is no place for a civilian. You should go home. Blah, blah, blah. What is the army doing? We're going to war. That's pretty good. All right, now let's see what AI Playground Goose.ai does here. I nearly jumped out of my skin. A long, dark finger pointed shakily at the stars. Baba Mir Ali Murzan or Maru speculate, how did they make it travel to the stars? I don't know, ask the author. So again, they went to prose, so they're picking up and going into their stash of books. I wonder where this comes from. Nothing really obvious, so they picked a random name. Very interesting. I gotta say, I think OpenAI did a better job, although this one has a bit more soul. It's a little less generic. which is true with with that previous bit about unscripted coding as well, that Goose.ai seems to be trying to do something more specific. It's not perfect, but if I was trying to do this as a prompt, help me get some ideas, I think this is a better one. This looks more complete and polished, but Goose.ai has a bit more soul. Let's see if I try and run this again, if I get a different answer here. Okay, well this one's just weird. That's not great at all. Okay, I think I tested what I really wanted to share with you guys. Because I've done this test before in that previous video, I had a couple conclusions already, and that's why I wanted to show. OpenAI has a number of prompts that are just not available in Goose.ai. So if you want summarizing, if you want to find the keywords, OpenAI makes it very easy for you because they've trained it so that they always know that when you're asking for keywords, that's what you mean. Goose.ai might pick up on it purely out of natural language. If I say, here's the article, and then the keywords are the following, it might pick it up, but it's not trained to get those same prompts consistently. So if you have an objective in mind, OpenAI is generally better. The other thing that I find with OpenAI is that the actual answers are usually a little bit polished at the end. You'll find with Goose.ai that there's a bit of formatting issues. Some of this didn't quite match up. OpenAI, I think, processes their answer a little bit as well. Makes the formatting correct. They also get rid of all of the swear words, get rid of all the racism, whatever, discrimination answers before passing it off to you. Goose.ai, I've seen some pretty inappropriate answers in my tests as well, just because they're pulling from the internet. Now, mind you, it's not common. In fact, it's exceedingly rare on Goose.ai, but I have just never seen it on OpenAI before. The last thing that I did want to draw that conclusion is, because OpenAI plays it a little bit safe, I feel like there's a different usage for it. Goose.ai, as we saw, had a few more answers that were a little more human, a little more creative, a little more different, so it doesn't seem super generic. What all that means is different tools for completely different jobs. OpenAI is exactly where I go for that SEO tool, the search engine optimization I was talking about earlier. If I want to pull keywords, if I want to summarize, if I want to shorten, rewrite, OpenAI is the way to go. Goose.ai is much more for my creative kind of projects. If I needed to write a book, if I wanted a bit of inspiration, if I wanted to finish my blog post, I'd put it through Goose.ai just to get some ideas, polish up their answers, but I don't want to dump on Goose.ai because I think it's an amazing tool that I'm going to use as well. But you gotta know what you're trying to do, and I think if you're building an app, if you're very programming minded, you're probably more drawn to OpenAI, other than the price. So I hope that was interesting. I hope that was helpful. I'm a little bit disappointed. I feel like the free 20 billion parameter test on Eleuther.ai it's exceedingly short and doesn't really help. So you're going to have to open an account, throw in a few dollars in both OpenAI and Goose.ai, and you can play around with it to your heart's content. Anyways, let me know how you guys felt about this video. I've done a number of these comparisons that seem to be some of the higher viewed videos. So I want to keep showing you guys what you can do with OpenAI. Stay tuned next week. We're going to have another cool project waiting ahead. Thanks for watching.